Hello everyone, welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on the Film Critic. Now before we get into today's video, I just want to say two things real quick. One, we have just hit over 100 subscribers, giving us our first milestone of the channel. And second, today on January 23rd, yes I know this video recorded a week ago, but I do all pre-recordings like this. Oh, 2 weeks ago. No, wait, a week ago. Oh, anyway, moving on. Today, January 23rd, is not just the channel's birthday, but my birthday as well. Well, 22 years of Fox living, and a year of Fox Flicks and Clicks. Now, let's hop into this film theory about seeing why we need to end the Avatar cycle.
Game, film, food. Long ago, the four channels lived together in harmony. But then,
What's the fourth
everything
channel?
changed when the YouTube algorithm attacked. Only MatPat, master of all four theories, could bring balance to the channels. But when YouTube needed him most, he vanished. But I
That
believe
isn't a
that
fourth one yet.
MatPat can save the world.
Alright, not bad.
Hello,
Internet.
Welcome to Film Theory, the show that's here to reveal your secret power, subscription bending. Try it out. Click the button below the video to transform it. Now, I don't
Did it years
often
ago.
call a lot
If
of
I
things
click it
perfect.
now, I
Almost
unsubscribe.
anything can be improved upon in one way or another, but up there with Chrono Trigger, The Lord of the Rings, and the sweet, delicious burn of Diet Coke is Avatar: The Last Airbender. If ever there was a perfect
thought of
animated
that for
series,
myself.
it might just be Avatar. In case you need a bit of a refresher, in the world of Avatar, people live in one of four nations, each built around one of the four traditional elements. You have the water tribes at the North and South Poles, the vast Earth Kingdom that covers most of the world's landmass, the
sturdy.
industrious and aggressive Fire Nation, and the elusive, flighty air nomad monks. Some people are born with the
Very
ability to
peaceful.
bend one of these four elements, but only one person can master all four of them. That one person is known as the Avatar, and is tasked with keeping the world in balance. As the very first Avatar
his job.
Juan explains,
This is my mission, to use Rava's light spirit to guide the world toward peace.
each avatar is
Ooh,
born
that
into a
was
cycle,
cool.
water to earth to fire to air, so that when the previous avatar dies, a new one is born in the next nation. And over the course
so
of the
on and
various
so on.
seasons, we watch as this exact cycle plays out. Avatar Kyoshi from the Earth Kingdom gives way to Roku from the Fire Nation, who then dies
Yep.
and opens the door to Aang from the Air Nomads, and finally Avatar Korra from the Water Tribe. It's a
And boom.
great setup that allows for stories and characters outside of the original series to be explored, expanding the world
The
even
past.
further. I mean, that's basically what happened with the sequel series, The Legend of Korra, and it appears to be Nickelodeon's strategy with the franchise moving forward. There have been multiple novels and comic books dedicated to other avatars and supporting characters. They've even
Nice.
established an entire production studio devoted to more Avatar content.
Did
Rumor
they?
has it that a bunch of this new stuff is going to focus on different avatars too. Sure, you'll have the OGs Aang and Korra, as well as the fan favorite
Classic.
Kyoshi, but also the next avatar that we haven't even met yet. There's even a
Whoa,
live-action
wait, what?
Netflix series on the way.
Oh,
Here's hoping
God,
it
not
goes
again.
better than the last one.
It was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
Anyway, in my excitement for new Avatar content, I decided to go rewatch the series and catch up on a bunch of the spin-off stories that they've released over the years. And you know what, theorists? The more and more I look, the more
up?
and more I realize that having an avatar sucks. This world is
How
so
so?
much worse because of the Avatar cycle. When you really break down what each avatar does during their life and how it compares to what each avatar is supposed to be doing, you'll realize that each and every one of them has largely failed. Enough so that you
What do you
kinda
mean?
gotta ask, is it even worth having an avatar at all?
I mean,
hop
Aang didn't
aboard your
fail.
flying bison and pour out some cactus juice, loyal
Yep.
theorists. I'm about to bend your ear over this broken ancient tradition. Let's start by setting our ground rules, shall we? Remember, the whole thing about the avatar is that their main goal is to keep the world in balance, both physically
try
and
to.
spiritually. What exactly that means could be up for debate, but the way I see it, an avatar's duties largely break down into four main tasks. One, helping keep international peace between the four nations. Two, helping keep
Easier said than
internal
done.
peace within each of those nations.
Again,
Three,
easier
protecting
said than
innocent
done.
people and bringing justice to the unjust. And four, bridging the gap between the human world and the spirit world. So let's just start at the beginning
Yeah,
of our
all
list.
that
One
is
of the main
easier
parts of
said
an
than
avatar's
done.
duty is to help keep international peace between the four nations. And admittedly, some of them are good at it. For instance, we see that Aang has helped to set up an international government to help the four nations stay at peace with each other. But
Okay,
literally
that's
from the
cool.
opening seconds of the show, we know that at least one avatar had a major oopsie in this field.
The four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Well,
The
it
whole
wasn't.
premise of the entire
But
franchise.
hold on, Matt. It wasn't that one avatar failed. It's that one avatar was tricked. The only reason why the Fire Nation even started attacking is because, well, the previous Fire Lord, I forget his name, who was actually friends with Avatar Roku, trapped him on an island to be killed by a volcano, and while his friend was dying, he sent his army out to attack the world. So, Roku didn't fail, he was tricked.
Starts with a giant
Which
international
I guess
war, and it all
counts as a
happened because of
failure.
the failure of the Avatars. On one hand, we could blame Aang, who ran away from his duties, which in turn opened up a power vacuum that allowed the 100-year war to begin. But he was also literally 12 years old at the time, so it's kinda hard to fault him for that one. Instead, the
I'm
true
a small-
failure falls to
oh, that's
Aang's
cute.
predecessor, Avatar Roku. Roku was childhood friends with Fire Lord Sozin, the Fire Lord who started the
Sozin,
war.
that
And
was
what's
it.
worse, Roku knew that Sozin wanted to conquer these other nations.
I've been thinking, we should share this prosperity with the rest of the world. In our hands is the most successful empire in history. It's time we expanded it.
So what did Roku do to stop it? Yeah, he basically gave Sozin a slap on the wrist and a stern talking to. By his own admission, Roku's indecisiveness, and let's be honest, favoritism to his friend and home nation, was a huge weakness which ultimately led to
You see,
tons
that's
of
what I was
unnecessary death.
In my life, I tried to be disciplined and show restraint, but it backfired. If I had been more decisive and acted sooner, I could have stopped Sozin and stopped the
Oop,
How do you make a
come
perfectly
on.
seasoned...
Well, yes, if Roku had just killed Sozin, there wouldn't have even been the war. But he was literally trying to be like, dude, I don't want to kill you, just stop. So he did stop for a little bit, and then used Roku's death as the catalyst to be like, take over the world, burn everyone, kill them all. For 100 years.
war before it started.
Instead, his actions led to Sozin's betrayal, his own death, and a war that lasted generations. His failure led to the complete annihilation of the Air Nation, as well as all
There
the
you go.
loss of life that comes with a war of conquest. It's not exactly going to be making Watch Mojo's top 10 list of moments that brought balance to the world. And here's
Nice
the thing, we
reference.
don't have to look at Roku or Aang to see the Avatar's failures here. In the prequel novels, we learned that Avatar Zito, the Fire Nation Avatar before Roku, was born into a time of great strife for the nation. And instead of working internationally like most other avatars, Zito decided to focus on the domestic politics, becoming a bureaucrat within the
Wait,
Fire Nation to
solely
help
on
his
the
people.
Fire
Though
Nation?
he helped shepherd the Fire Nation back to prosperity, he did this at the expense of all the other nations. This eventually
Man,
led to an
that's
event
a
known as
little
the Platinum
selfish.
Affair shortly after his death, which saw the Fire Nation and Water Tribes secretly backing a challenger to the Earth Kingdom throne. When this was discovered, it led to all three nations becoming incredibly isolationist. Because of this, Zito's immediate successor, the air
Oh,
nomad avatar Yang
crap.
Chen, would look back on Zito's legacy as messy. So, as you can already start to see, having one person solely responsible for policing the entire bending world is like an impossible task. Time is going to be the Avatar's most limited resource, and the decisions that they make on how to spend that time inevitably means that they're going to have to sacrifice one major part of their duty. Obviously, for Zito, focusing all of his attention on bringing prosperity to the Fire Nation meant that he let conflict
Kind of
arise
selfish
within
that you
other
only
kingdoms
focus on
with the
your
Platinum
own, your
Affair. We see
home
a similar
when you're a freaking
situation arise in
Avatar.
the Avatar Kyoshi books. The Avatar before her had a singular focus on dealing with the spiritual duties of the role. This meant that he neglected his responsibilities as a politician. His neglect of the
Okay.
physical world allowed the Earth Kingdom to become destabilized by infighting, and Kyoshi was basically forced to spend her entire life cleaning up that mess. But don't feel
Nice
too
going,
bad for her. She caused even
dick.
more problems than she solved. Case in
Never
point,
mind.
Chin the Conqueror. Now, this guy was a warlord standing up against a corrupted king. That said, Chin was far from a hero. As Kyoshi herself says,
A horrible tyrant. Jin was expanding his army to all corners of the continent.
this seems like the exact sort of situation where an avatar should stand up and help make peace, right? A rebellion is threatening to
Back up.
destabilize an entire
Back
kingdom,
up.
and both sides are led
For
by
the
awful people. The
cabbages!
keeper of peace and balance should probably be looking into solving this issue. Even Kyoshi herself says,
Jin the Conqueror threatened to throw the world out of balance.
there's that word, balance. So what did Kyoshi do to stop Chin? Nothing. Literally nothing. Chin was able to conquer
Spread the
almost
land.
the entire continent. Kyoshi only decided to step in when he showed up at her doorstep to take over the peninsula that she called home.
I warned him that I would not sit passively while
Yeah,
he took our
no.
home.
Yeah, sure, Kyoshi. Looks like you were getting right to that. So, now that Chin
Spread
is
the land.
literally right in front of her, you would think that this is a good opportunity to try and stop his conquest and restore balance to the Earth Kingdom. Nope! Kyoshi uses her power
Zito
to
is the one
disconnect
that's
the
just saying,
peninsula from the
"And if you
mainland
really
and
gotta
then
kill this
proceeds to
guy."
yeet it out into the middle of the ocean. Seriously, in what's arguably the most impressive display for an avatar's powers that we see throughout the entire franchise, all Kyoshi does is pull a giant, I'ma head out. Chin's conquest was only stopped because he was too stubborn to get out of Kyoshi's way, falling to his death as Kyoshi Island was being formed.
But I assure you, I would have done whatever it took to stop Chin.
Really, Kyoshi?
Yeah, no.
Sure looks like you got some
Come
massive
on.
revisionist history going on there, because you didn't do a gosh darn thing in the months leading up to him coming to your peninsula.
You're
And that
literally
philosophy
the one
runs
that says
deep in the
you
village
gotta
that
kill this
Kyoshi
guy.
leaves behind. Towards the beginning of The Last Airbender, Team Avatar lands on Kyoshi Island, where the guiding wisdom of all the Kyoshi stands is, yeah, it's not my problem.
Kyoshi stayed out of the war so far, and we intend to keep it that way.
Heck, even the Earth Kingdom capital's catchphrase, "There's no war in Ba Sing Se," follows the same attitude. Ignore the problem. Deny. Close your eyes, and it just goes away. Admittedly,
the
things seem to go much
brainwashing.
better under Roku's tenure. And after Aang ends the
There's a
100-Year
lot of
War, things
brainwashing.
again seem to go smoothly. But under Korra, there's civil conflict after civil conflict. She was Avatar during the Water Tribe Civil War. Under her watch, the Red Lotus assassinates the Earth Queen. And in the aftermath, Korra's inaction due to injury and PTSD lets Kuvira seize control of a great deal of the Earth Kingdom. Not a great track record in a long sequence of avatars dropping the ball. So now let's move on to our next criteria: protecting the innocent and bringing justice to the unjust. This one's a bit harder to judge because we don't see a lot of the day-to-day lives of each avatar. And well, yeah, we do see some heroic moments like Aang fighting Yakone and Korra chasing down Bender criminals in the streets of Republic City. There's a rotten core here that starts to peek through the deeper we get into the franchise. Most of the Legend of Korra's plot revolves around the idea of justice and what it takes to defend everyone. Korra's first major adversary, Amon, is the leader of a group called the Equalists, who are all about leveling the playing field between benders and non-benders by taking away the ability to bend. Sound insane?
Simply
It is,
just
but the
blocking
movement
the
is shown to
channels.
resonate with a lot of Republic City's citizens. Life in the world of Avatar can be incredibly hard for non-benders.
Oh, the
even in new,
cabbages,
supposedly
no.
harmonious society that Aang created. If you're a bender, you have easy access to jobs. Power plants use firebenders to operate, trains are powered by earthbenders, and policemen are almost exclusively metal benders. Benders also have a much easier time committing acts of violence, as we're frequently shown groups of violent benders like the Triple Threat Triad, the Red Lotus, heck, even the Republic City Police, who treat the use of force like it's second nature. Non-benders are overlooked, they're ignored, they're frequently threatened. In one particular scene, Republic City's metal-bending police force herd a group of non-benders like cattle, using force to break up a non-violent protest. These people are targeted because the police force has turned off the power to their homes, and they're peacefully resisting being profiled as members of Amon's uprising just because they aren't benders. A woman in the crowd makes a desperate plea for Korra's help, saying,
"Please help us. You're our avatar too."
And Korra does help, kinda.
Good.
Unfortunately for the common people, Korra considers the issue resolved after she outs Amon as a bender and a fraud, effectively derailing a movement that began and grew thanks to a genuine concern from a huge portion of Republic City's non-bending population. So that one doesn't look all that great for Korra. But when you think about it, this is Aang's city. He created the system that Korra inherited. In fact, this goes well beyond just Korra and Aang. The imbalance between benders and non-benders is a failure of every avatar before them who popped up or exploited the same system. Which brings us back to Kyoshi, who honestly might have been the worst of the bunch. See, Kyoshi had herself a rough childhood. She was an orphan working as a servant until it was discovered that she was the Avatar. She later joined a criminal gang that was founded by her parents. And it's not like they suddenly stopped doing crimes after the Avatar joined. Nope, they decided to involve Kyoshi in the crimes. That's not all. Kyoshi's youthful anger
stick a bag over the head.
Even after learning that she was the Avatar, her thoughts were more centered on revenge than duty. The Rise of Kyoshi states that, quote, her hunger to learn all four elements had nothing to do with becoming a fully realized Avatar. Fire, air, and water were simply more weapons she could bring to bear on a single target, end quote. And much later in her life, she was so unbothered by taking her life that she didn't see a difference between accidents and intentional killings.
You didn't really kill Shin. Technically, he fell to his own doom because he was too stubborn to get out of the way.
Personally, I don't really see the difference.
As for protecting the innocent, here again we have some problems. In Shadow of Kyoshi, Kyoshi threatens to crush a mother and her adult son to death with a boulder while trying to squeeze a false confession out of them for something they didn't do. But her single worst decision is revealed in the canonical Flash game Escape from the Spirit World. It's here that Kyoshi confesses to Aang her biggest failure. See, one of the Earth Kings during Kyoshi's life was incredibly unpopular. His leadership was seen as ineffective ineffective and corrupt, and it eventually led to a peasant uprising against him. During the riots, the king ordered Kyoshi to put the uprising down. And to her credit, she refused. Instead, she encouraged the king to listen to the grievances of the people and find compromise. Seems pretty good so far, right? But here's the thing. Kyoshi admits that she didn't like the people standing up against the kingdom. In fact, throughout the whole story, Kyoshi seems less concerned about the human rights abuses committed by the king and more concerned that the peasants are destroying historical artifacts and upsetting the stability of the monarchy. So, in exchange for the king listening to his people and ending the riots, Kyoshi agrees to train an elite group of earthbenders for him. They would be, quote, silent, precise, and feared by all. It was a force that would eventually be known as the Dai Li. Yep, you remember those creepy secret police from the animated series? The ones with the rock gloves whose loyalty could be bought and sold and who sided with Azula and the Fire Nation during the invasion of Ba Sing Se? They were Kyoshi's idea. She even admits that she regrets not foreseeing the long-term consequences of giving future Earth Kingdom monarchs access to an elite secret police force. But here's the thing, that move didn't make sense even in her time period. This
Oh, come on.
Meet 3 people who
And we're back. Let's go.
king, the one that was ready to crush his own people, he shouldn't have had access to that secret police force either. Imagine what he would have had him do to the peasants if they were around to begin with. Then again, when you're as powerful as Kyoshi and you treat your powers like a big old hammer, I guess everything looks like a nail. So again, for a lot of the avatars, protecting the innocent and bringing justice to the unjust is just a bust. So that's 3 for 3 where a ton of avatars fail. But what about our 4th criteria here? Bridging the gap and keeping the peace between the human and spirit worlds. This is basically the thing that avatars are supposed to be good at. Surely there isn't a legacy of failure here too? Well, you would think, and then you would be wrong. We hear in the prequel novel dedicated to Avatar Yang Chen that when humans and spirits came into conflict...
I'm sorry, I just remember the funny scene that okay, I'll laugh about off camera, but right now, we just need to keep moving on.
Would strike bargains that would get the spirits to leave humans alone so long as they took care of the physical world. And of course, humans did not live up to their end of the deal. As a result, spirits wound up committing a lot of violence against humans who broke their oaths. This in turn created a huge mess for the next avatar, Kurik, to clean up. We discovered in the Kyoshi novels that Avatar Kurik would end up spending most of his short life fighting the dark spirits empowered by Yang Chen's decisions. Finally, let's skip forward to Avatar Korra, who might just have been the avatar to fail the most at this one. At the end of the Legend of Korra Season 2, Korra is subdued by her uncle Unalaq, who's merged with the dark spirit Vatu. Unalaq is able to rip the avatar spirit Rava from Korra's body, severing her connection to the past avatars forever. Thousands of years worth of knowledge snuffed out in an instant. Additionally, during this battle, we witness a world-shifting event called the Harmonic Convergence. Basically, a portal opens between the spirit and human worlds, allowing people and spirits to pass freely between them. At the end of it, Korra decides to keep the portals to the spirit world open, a decision that reverses the stance of the very first avatar and fatefully combines the human and spirit worlds. At first glance, it seems brilliant, right? Wouldn't the peaceful coexistence between humans and spirits create a more meaningful bond between them? Well, not necessarily. The unforeseen consequence of these two vastly different worlds colliding is complicated and really doesn't scream balance. First, the overlapping geographies of the world create huge territory issues. Houses in Republic City are overrun by vines, and entire city blocks are destabilized. Doesn't matter if you're a bender or a non-bender. Finding your living room destroyed and your building about to collapse is definitely on the list of top 5 worst breakfast time surprises. And second, Harmonic Convergence gives Zahir, one of the most dangerous warriors in the world, the power of airbending, which he promptly uses to start assassinating world leaders and throw the world out of balance. I'm gonna chalk that one up as a big oopsie there, Korra. When you stop and look at the totality of what we know about the avatars, one thing becomes clear time and time again. This is a vicious cycle. Every single one of these avatars dealt with difficult issues, but their solutions just wound up creating more problems for the immediate successor. Zito focused too much on his own country. Yang Chen has to deal with and break down isolationist policies. Yang Chen helps make peace between the 4 nations, but at the cost of angering the spirits. Well, Kurik has to spend his life battling dark spirits and winds up neglecting the real-world nations. Kurik dies early in battle with spirits, leaving an unstable political situation. Kyoshi creates a secret police to try and paper over the problems of her country. Roku shows favoritism to his home nation. Aang has to deal with a century-long war and the death of his entire people. All of them ignore non-benders. Korra has to deal with the fallout and the equalists. The Avatar cycle is a cycle of violence. It is a broken system. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Ask yourself, why does the Avatar have to have a monopoly on balance in this world? The very concept of the Avatar is imbalanced. At the end of the day, the Avatars possess the power of a god. Literally, a god of light. But they're still only humans. Aang was a 12-year-old kid faced with with solving a 100-year-old war. Kyoshi was a poor orphan. Eventually, she's gonna defend her home so it wasn't ripped away again. Roku was friends with Sozin. Of course, he's gonna be slow to action and more lenient in his judgment. One person holding that much power, that much influence, it's a recipe for disaster. I feel like I've heard this somewhere before.
No, he didn't.
Power comes great responsibility.
In the end, the really successful avatars, or maybe the least unsuccessful avatars, are the ones that don't do it alone. Aang saves the world from Fire Lord Ozai because he trusts his friends to help get the job done. Sokka, Toph, Suki, Zuko, and Katara are all off playing key parts in stopping the Fire Nation, while Aang has his rad Dragon Ball Z fight against Ozai. And those friends are just as essential after the war in helping him restore balance too. His friends help make and keep the international peace all in ways that Aang wouldn't be able to do on his own. It just goes to show that controlling all the elements in this world is meaningless if you don't also control the element of friendship. But hey, if you want more Avatar The Last Airbender content right now, go check out our previous theory talking about the science of waterbending. Believe it or not, but what you see Katara and Aang doing in the series isn't that far.
Well, that's where we're going to end off this video, but before I do, I'm going to tell you what it was I was laughing at that made me suddenly have to just stop the video. So that scene where he had kind of the panda spirit walking away. Yeah, I remember Sake, I don't remember how to pronounce his name, the guy with the boomerang walk out. Katara asking him how he felt, and then he said that he really needed to use the restroom. I then remember a scene later on when Aang is trying to like commune with the spirits, and Katara asks, "Are there bathrooms in the spirit world?" And he says, "As a matter of fact, there isn't." Cause look, if you know the scene, you know it's funny as hell. That's where I'm gonna end up today's video. Link in the description, all that stuff. Peace out.